Remember what we were saying about Shelley laying the groundwork at this point for the despair that will come crashing down on the monster later? Well, at this point, he's got this idealised perception of the de Lacys. Look at the positive pre-modification in the term beloved cottagers in the first sentence of chapter 15. Look at the positive abstract nouns, benevolence and generosity, to describe the acts of the de Lacys on a daily basis. What's interesting at the moment is the impact this has on the monster. He talks about it inciting within me a desire to become an actor in the busy scene where so many admirable qualities were called forth and displayed. It reminds me of that poem by Dorothy Nolte called Children Learn What They Live. If you've never heard it, Google it and read the whole thing. It says things like, if children live with criticism, they learn to condemn. If children live with hostility, they learn to fight. If children live with praise, they learn appreciation. If children live with acceptance, they learn to love. Here, the monster is living with benevolence and generosity, so he learns to display those positive characteristics too, by gathering up firewood for those he ironically terms his protectors. Of course, the bubble will burst when he realises that their kindness is selective, that prejudice will bar him from any of the love the family share amongst themselves. The nature versus nurture debate rises up again here as we see how kind and good the monster could have been if he had received the kind of nurture he so desired, rather than the aggression and hostility he encounters everywhere he goes. As an outsider, he's condemned to be excluded from the kindness, love and generosity he craves. And he is very much an outsider, isn't he? For much of his life, he lives outside. When we encounter him, he's in extreme locations, like in chapter 10, for instance, when Victor sees him in the distance as he bounds over the crevices in the ice. When he tries to approach civilization, he's rejected. In chapter 11, for instance, he recounts how the whole village was roused. Some fled, some attacked, until grievously bruised by stones and many other kinds of missile weapons, he escaped to the open country and fearfully took revenge in a hovel. When he spies on the de Lacys, he does so from outside, looking through a small chink in the wall, in chapter 11. When Victor sees him after he has destroyed his promised mate, he says, I trembled and my heart failed within me when on looking up I saw by the light of the moon the demon at the casement. The casement here is the window. The monster is always outside, excluded, looking in, peering in at humankind. One common feature of Gothic literature is something called liminality. It comes from the Latin word limen, meaning threshold. Notice that the monster is constantly on a threshold, a boundary between two things, peering through the wall into the cottage, staring through a window, inhabiting a liminal environment between the land and the sea, like the Orkney Islands, or between the land and the sky, like at the top of a mountain. You could argue that the liminality of the monster is not just physical, however, but goes much deeper than that. Is Shelley saying that he's on the border, the threshold between natural and supernatural, that he exists somehow halfway between death and life, living and breathing, but composed of dead body parts? There's a kind of tension or conflict at the heart of the monster. Would you label him as good or evil, for instance? It's his Gothic liminality which Shelley uses in order to pose these questions to us as readers. There are lots of references in this chapter to the monster reading Paradise Lost. One of the functions of these references is highlighted when the monster talks about Eve, saying, "No Eve soothed my sorrows, nor shared my thoughts. I was alone. I remembered Adam's supplication to his creator, but where was mine? He had abandoned me, and in the bitterness of my heart I cursed him." Shelley succeeds in creating pathos here. We feel sympathy for the monster because of his isolation. Our opinion of Victor as a neglectful parent or creator is confirmed as we recognise that the creature he created has been denied this basic human need. There are moments in this novel when Victor will seek to dehumanise his creature. In chapter 10, for instance, he commands, "Begone, vile insect." But here, as we see him craving for companionship and recognising that he alone will never have this need fulfilled, we can't help but feel sympathy for him. It's a response deliberately stirred up by Shelley as she prepares us for his complete disillusionment by the end of this chapter. Even the de Lacys, his protectors, his one hope of a family, will turn on him with hostility and hatred.